Multiple Starship boosters are on the move at SpaceX's Starbase. Booster 15 and 16 are in the rocket garden, while Booster 12 might be heading to the grave. Why did they do this unexpected shuffle? SN2 is saying goodbye, Pad 1's OLM is configured for the next static fire test, but when will Ship 37 come back out to play? We honor one of NASA's finest astronauts, Jim Lovell, and there is so much more. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. A lot has happened at both the Starbase production site and the launch site within the past few days. Let's take a look together. Booster 16 was moved, Booster 12 was moved, and SN2 was moved as well. But Booster 12 and SN2 are ancient. Why would they move those around? During a booster shuffle on August 6th, Booster 16, the next booster to fly on Flight 10, departed Mega Bay 1 and rolled to the rocket garden. That's not the launch site. Why leave the bay if it's not rolling out to the launch site? Excellent question. As shown here, Mega Bay 1 can house 3 fully stacked boosters. Or 4 if you include the empty space in front of the door. So 3 without getting into trouble. But there were only 2 boosters inside the bay, Booster 15 and 16. So isn't there an open stand? Well, yes, kind of. With the new generation of boosters changing clamp designs, these work stands need to be retrofitted to accept these changes. New boosters don't fit onto old stands. But what changes are really taking place? The current generation of boosters uses a small lip to clamp the booster down, while this new generation of boosters will use brand new and improved hold-down arms. I mean, just look at those. This is a big difference that no one talks about. With all this in mind, SpaceX has already started to retrofit stuff for the new generation, including one of the work stands. This now puts the bay at 2 active work stands to support current generation boosters. With Booster 16 being flight ready, it was moved to the rocket garden on the 6th, where it will sit until its flight is ready to depart the station. Everything is ready except for Ship 37, it seems. With the middle stand now open, Booster 15 was lifted from the back right stand to the back middle stand. I wonder why they use this stand more than the others. Now that we have a stand open that can support Booster 12, let's move it. And that's what happened. Later in the day on the 6th, Booster 12 was moved to Mega Bay 1. While the door was still open, we saw the booster shifting slightly, indicating the hold-down arms were disengaged on the transport stand. This view did not last long as the door was shut. Are they really gonna scrap the first booster to be caught? This booster is historic, the first to ever be caught. It deserves way more respect. They did scrap SN15 and Booster 4, but in a turn of events the transport stand left the bay, meaning Booster 12 had been lifted to the open stand in the back right. Why is this a positive sign though? To understand why, we need to look into the scrapping process. Let's kick some cans, shall we? You'd think they could just cut all the rings in half and call it a day. This is not the case. The process of scrapping the largest rocket boosters ever built requires a multifaceted approach. After all, this is comparable to recycling the Statue of Liberty. Not that we want to do that. Let's take Booster 4 as an example. During Booster 4's scrapping, the tank was cut where the common dome and the first 4 rings of the liquid methane tank meet. Then the entire LOX tank atop the booster transport stand left the bay. For the sake of time, this is all we need. Booster 12's transport stand left the bay empty, meaning it would not be getting scrapped. Yes! So if this doesn't mean certain deaths for a historic booster, what else could it mean? On December 22, 2015, during the Falcon 9 Flight 20 Orbcomm OG-2 mission, SpaceX successfully achieved the first ever vertical landing of an orbital-class rocket first stage at Cape Canaveral's Landing Zone 1. That was a day. That Falcon 9 booster is very similar in importance to Starship Booster 12. Later, this booster found its way to Hawthorne, California. It was erected and is displayed in front of SpaceX's old headquarters for everyone to see. Why not do the same with Booster 12? Display it at Starbase in a similar way. I am very sure many would appreciate it, and Booster 12 surely deserves to be preserved for future generations of rocket enthusiasts and one day even historians. During all this, SN2 was being prepped to be moved. Why move SN2? SN2 is a very old test tank from Starbase that has been used for water storage over the years after it fulfilled its purpose as a test tank. So scrapping it is a logical conclusion, but it gives us a hint at something else. SpaceX has hopefully found a new way to supply the village with water. Imagine your shower water came from a Starship test tank. That is pretty cool. SpaceX wasted no more time and SN2 was moved to the scrapyard. So long, soldier, here's one final thing about the boosters at Starbase. I was absolutely annoyed by dozens of daily phone calls and the daily flood of spam emails, especially here in the US. I'm relying on my sponsor Incogni for over 3 years now. Ruthless data brokers make a living out of selling your personal data, and Incogni put a stop on earning money with mine. Incogni is here to win back and protect your data security. Half of all Americans are longing for better data protection. Are you one of them? I sure was. In Incogni, I found a reliable partner for my data privacy needs. It keeps my personal data just like they should be, safe and secure, and they will do the same for you too. Running in the background, this is the perfect solution for ensuring our personal data truly remains personal. Fully automated and easy getting started, sign up and grant Incogni permission to track down the data brokers. It reliably identifies targets and it can even handle removal requests for you, all while you sit back comfortably and watch it work. Knowing my data is actively protected at all times is highly enjoyable for me. Endless spam calls and emails, be gone. Just like having a personal data security officer watching on to protect my privacy. Join me at incogni.com/Felix and take control of your personal data with Incogni. Use code Felix at the link below to get 60% off an annual plan. I love this special offer because it really makes a difference. That is incogni.com/Felix to enjoy personal privacy while supporting us here at Y. Over at Massey's, the booster cryostation where boosters undergo their initial cryogenic proof testing has received 2 brand new quick disconnects. This cryostation was first built for the current generation of boosters. With only one QD port, you only need one quick disconnect system. So why not add another one? SpaceX did just that. 2 new platforms were built. Except we never knew what they were truly for until now. We've been wondering for some time why SpaceX wants to add a second QD to the Block 3 boosters. There are a few theories out there. So why 2? 2 separate booster QDs allow for a faster flow during cryogenic fuel loading. There's now one for methane and one for LOX. A faster fuel load means a quicker launch. And it also means less waste. The longer a fueling process takes, the longer commodities have time to evaporate. All this venting going on during a full stack fueling is waste. The shorter the process, the less waste fuel bleed off you end up having. Now let's take a look at what Ship 37 might or might not be doing. Not much has really happened at the launch site within the past few days. We are still waiting for a possible additional round of Ship 37's static firing. A few notable things have happened though. Starting at Pad 1, the modified ship transport stand, also known as SQR-3, remains on the OLM after being lifted just 1 day after it was initially taken off. With this stand being at the launch site again, we can only assume they will have to re-static fire Ship 37. Ship 38 has not started to receive engines, and we did see one RVAC get swapped on Ship 37. And the RVAC swap is likely the reason why the SQR-3 returned. Maybe they'll just spin prime, but I think it might be another full static fire that's needed. Speaking of spin primes and static fires, Pad 2 has seen some work regarding an embed station for stands. And this features 12 separate plates for stands. Why 12? 4 of these plates are in a square configuration. And what stand is a square? The static fire stand. The other 8 are in the shape of an octagon, which resembles the leg layout of the ship and booster transport stands. So maybe Pad 2 will accept ship static fires if needed. It would be easier but also risky. Remember Ship 36? Before we talk about Italy riding to Mars on a Starship, here's something you can do to help ensure that we can keep reporting these things. Hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value, and become a Y supporter for extra content. Secure your access to up to 7 picture galleries per week, satellite, helicopter and ground photos, and 3D animations. Chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. SpaceX and the Italian Space Agency are joining forces? Yes, on the 7th, the president of ASI, or the Agenzia Spaziale Italiana, Teodoro Valente, posted on X stating that the first Starship flight to Mars will include payload from Italy. This flight will consist of a few payloads, plant growth, weather monitoring, radiation sensors, and more. Good job! Growing confidence in SpaceX's Starship success is a needed signal. There is a lot to look forward to. Now let's make another estimate. When will Flight 10 launch from Starbase? Last week I predicted August 22nd, only to have a notice to mariners come out half an hour after I released our Friday episode confirming this prediction. But there was no static fire last week. This pushes my estimate just a bit further out. Previous testing shows that a launch could be 2 weeks post-vehicle static fire. That would mean we could still see a launch in late August. And this notice to mariners is doing the same as my prediction. On its first publishing, the launch was initially set for net August 16th, but was updated 2 days later to net the 22nd. This lines up with the testing flow, so as of today, my estimate would be the 26th. Do you want to see amazingly cool things like this from the air with your own eyes? Check out redlineheli.com/Felix for a once-in-a-lifetime experience and $25 off flying in a helicopter above Starbase. The Redline helicopter team is waiting for you. They'll show you the same views our photographer gets on his Starbase flights. Give it a try. Crew Dragon Endurance was docked to the International Space Station for 145 days. 145 days of an orbit every 92 minutes. That's 2,270 orbits in total. On the 8th of this month, it was time to leave the station behind. Crew Dragon undocked with NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers, JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov aboard. Following a series of deorbit burns, Crew Dragon was on a re-entry path above the Pacific Ocean. Wait, Pacific? Yes, SpaceX has phased out East Coast landings and is now using the West Coast for Crew Dragon splashdown sites. Man, what a shame. I really liked watching these here in Florida. The trunk jettisoned and Dragon was set free for re-entry. Close those visors because it is about to get hot. Just 2 minutes later, the nose cone where the forward docking hatch is located was closed, meaning Dragon would be home in just 34 minutes. 2 healthy drogue parachutes deployed 3.5 minutes before splashdown and Dragon was stable. 1 minute later, Dragon was under 4 healthy main parachutes on its final descent back to Earth. And splashdown. A little while later, the capsule was lifted aboard the recovery vessel and the crew of 4 were assisted out of the spacecraft. Welcome home, Crew 10. Writing these scripts would be boring if it wouldn't involve people riding in a fireball. SpaceX's execution of these flights is top-notch. Now, I'd like to take a moment to honor a legend. After all, Crew 10 stands on the shoulders of giants and always will. Last week, we heard the sad news that one of the true heroes of early spaceflight had passed away. James Arthur, short Jim Lovell Jr., stands as one of NASA's most celebrated astronauts. A pioneer whose extraordinary career spanned the golden age of space exploration. Born on March 25, 1928 in Cleveland, Ohio, Lovell would go on to become one of only 3 people to fly to the moon twice, cementing his place in the pantheon of space exploration heroes. Lovell's path to the stars began with his fascination for flight during his youth in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where his family moved when he was young. After graduating from the US Naval Academy in 1952, he served as a naval aviator and test pilot, accumulating over 4,000 hours of flight time. His exceptional skills as a pilot and his cool demeanor under pressure caught the attention of NASA recruiters during the early days of the space program. They would soon find out that they had found just the right person. Selected as part of NASA's second group of astronauts in 1962, Lovell first ventured into space aboard Gemini 7 in December 1965 alongside Frank Borman. This mission was groundbreaking, lasting 14 days and demonstrating that humans could survive long-duration space flights. But Lovell was just getting started. The flight also achieved the first rendezvous between 2 crewed spacecraft when Gemini 6A, piloted by Wally Schirra and Tom Stafford, approached within 1 foot of Gemini 7. Lovell's second Gemini mission, Gemini 12 in November 1966, served as the program's finale. Flying with Buzz Aldrin, they successfully completed multiple spacewalks and orbital maneuvers, proving that astronauts could perform complex tasks outside their spacecraft. This was yet another essential capability for the upcoming Apollo lunar missions. Jim Lovell had proven himself and was soon selected for a legendary mission. His historical most significant mission came with Apollo 8 in December 1968. Along with Frank Borman and William Anders, Lovell became one of the first 3 humans to leave Earth's gravitational influence and travel to another celestial body. Imagine being chosen for that. This daring mission orbited the moon 10 times during Christmas week, providing humanity with the first close-up views of the lunar surface and the iconic Earthrise photograph that would forever change how we see our home planet. The mission's Christmas Eve broadcast, during which the crew read from the book of Genesis while showing views of the lunar surface, became one of the most watched television broadcasts in human history. His final NASA mission would be the one most remembered: Houston, we have a problem. Apollo 13 in April 1970 transformed from a routine lunar landing attempt into one of the most dramatic rescue operations in space history. Mission Commander Lovell was poised to become the 5th person to walk on the moon. However, an oxygen tank explosion 56 hours into the flight forced the crew to abandon their lunar landing and fight for their lives. Lovell's calm leadership, combined with the ingenuity of his crewmates Jack Swigert and Fred Hayes, and the tireless efforts of ground control, turned a near disaster into triumph. They not only survived, but they became heroes instead. The crew successfully used the lunar module as a lifeboat, swinging around the moon to return safely to Earth. Lovell's famous words, "Houston, we have a problem," became a synonym for human endurance and NASA's ingenuity. After retiring from NASA in the golden days of flying in space and the Navy in 1973, Lovell pursued a successful business career while remaining an advocate for space exploration. His experience, particularly the harrowing Apollo 13 mission, were immortalized in the book Lost Moon, later re-released as Apollo 13, which he co-authored with Jeffrey Kluger. This book became the basis for the acclaimed 1995 film Apollo 13, directed by Ron Howard and starring Tom Hanks as Lovell. Jim Lovell's legacy extended far beyond his technical achievements as an astronaut. He embodied the qualities that defined America's space program: courage, competence, and calm determination in the face of the unknown. His 4 spaceflights totaled 715 hours in space, including 29 lunar orbits, making him one of the most experienced astronauts of his era. Thank you, Jim, for all you have done for human spaceflight. You will never be forgotten. We'll stay with NASA, but move from the past to the near future. Lovell would have loved this. Acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy is wasting no time making big decisions. He recently announced that NASA is fast-tracking plans to deploy a nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030. Yeah, you heard that right. This move marks yet another significant escalation in the new and ever-accelerating second space race. And don't confuse the two. Where the old space race was about political soft power, the new one is about claiming the moon. Stakes are high. Sean Duffy explained that urgent competition from China and Russia is the primary driver behind the updated timeline. China and Russia have announced joint plans to deploy their own nuclear-powered lunar base by the mid-2030s. Tick-tock! NASA fears that if another country were to achieve this feat first, it could declare a kind of keep-out zone that would potentially hold the US back from its goal of establishing a presence on the lunar surface. The moon is big, but potential long-term settlement sites are limited to a few areas, predominantly the South Pole. This geopolitical dimension transforms this part of the Artemis program from a purely scientific endeavor into a strategic necessity for maintaining American leadership in space exploration. The space race is picking up pace in many ways. Duffy's directive instructs NASA to get proposals for a 100 kilowatt lunar nuclear reactor. That is a clear step up from previous efforts focused on a less powerful 40 kilowatt system. To put this in perspective, this would generate far less power than typical nuclear reactors in the United States and could power only 70 to 80 homes, yet it represents a substantial power source for lunar operations. And so why do we even need a nuclear reactor on the moon? The moon's unique environment makes nuclear power practically inevitable for sustained human presence. Even if we go to the South Pole, where there are several possible spots with permanent daylight for solar power, panels and batteries tend to be very heavy and expensive to carry to the moon. They are also wearing out a lot faster than a nuclear fission power source. This power source would support NASA's Artemis program, particularly the planned Artemis 3 mission in 2027 that aims to return humans to the lunar surface for the first time in over 5 decades. Duffy's reported command sets a 60-day timeline for NASA to select project leadership and industry partners for the reactor. 60 days! This feels like a breakneck pace. It's all hands on deck. Developing such a reactor would cost around $3 billion over 5 years, according to recent estimates. This substantial investment comes at a time when NASA faces potential budget cuts, raising concerns about resource allocation. It could well mean that more planned or even started projects will have to be eliminated. People in Washington need to understand that these budget cuts are not the way to go. That's it for today. Smash that like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Lots of designs by me and other spaceflight artists. Link is in the description and in the card you should see now. And if you want to learn more about the craziest ways to get to space while not using a rocket, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Dip dip doo. With your own Y eyes. From a His 4 spaceflights tolerated? No.